Hey everyone, Jeremy, National Fire Radio, back on the podcast.
The fire service has given me everything in my life. Fire service is not built on shortcuts. One of the best things I ever heard. You want to teach the tricks of the trade, but nobody's learned the trade.
Yeah, but you're working for it.
What are you doing to make yourself better? You want to advance your career? Double down on it.
I challenge you to take this conversation, take it back to the firehouse and talk about it when we're talking about the job. We're making the job better. We're making the job better. I'm making the job better. Jeremy, National Fire Radio. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for another episode of the podcast. Before we start today's episode, I just want to mention to you real quick a new project that I launched in partnership with my friend Taylor over at Taylor's Tins, Legacy Fire Cards. Legacy Fire Cards is a passion project for me, something I've wanted to launch for a very long time. And Black Friday in 2025, just a few months ago, we launched it with tremendous success. And what Legacy Fire Cards is, it's a trading card for the fire service. The caption is preserve, educate, and collect. And what we're doing is we created a collectible trading card where we talk about the traditions and culture of the fire service, from famous fires, historical pieces of equipment, the origin story of firefighters who have made an impact on the fire service, and then fire photos, apparatus photos, and everything in between. It is a trading card series that captures the essence of the fire service. And the idea is to create a collectible between young and old, where a father can share these cards with his son to talk about the job, because as I always say in the podcast, when we talk about the job, we're making the job better. These trading cards are exactly doing that. We are preserving the history and traditions of the fire service. So check out legacyfirecards.com, support the project, and now enjoy the episode. We've come a long way, Robert.
Yeah, don't hit the table.
We've come a long way. We have sound dampening tables now, so you don't have to worry about that as much. No, kidding. So you good?
The only thing that we're missing is we have to get Bob to get us a
And we're sober.
well, there's that too, and like a moose head or something on the wall.
Oh, I should get a deer head for in here. Maybe take that shelf down and put a big deer head right there.
That would be a throwback to the old
and an homage.
Yeah,
I like that. Hit record, will you? Outstanding. We're already recording. Rob Ridley, take me back to 2018, where I reached out to you in a Facebook message because I didn't even have your phone number. I reached out through Facebook Messenger and said, "Hey Rob, it's Jeremy. Love to connect. I don't have your number."
Yeah.
Go.
I have an idea.
I
want to do something for the fire service. I'm thinking about like a podcast or doing something with social media. And without even thinking about it, I was like, yeah, I'm in. Let's do it.
We didn't even know each other.
Right. Well, we knew of each other, I think.
We had shared beers, a
Right.
couple cups of coffee.
Yeah.
But, I didn't know anything about you.
I feel like I knew a lot about you.
Oh, boy.
So,
Why?
No, it was really, it was an accidental conversation in the firehouse with Jason Simpson about,
Jason Simpson.
Yeah, long lays. And, we were talking about some tactics and what we would do. And he's like, the person who knows this is Jeremy Donch, because he has, and I was like, well, who's Jeremy Donch? And that was, which I think is, the question, right? But he was like, no, Jeremy volunteered here. And Chris Mader was a lieutenant at the time. And he was like, yeah, no, he would know. And they started in on this whole, always chief down in Franklin Lakes.
I didn't know this.
He has, their building makeup is of this, and they have these long stretches, so they specialize in moving water.
Yeah.
And that's where the initial conversation where you first entered my brain. And that, so when we were at the DeWitt's, I think it was Katie's
birthday party or something. Sure.
It was like the Knights of Columbus or something like that. And I was like, you're Jeremy Donch. I wanted to talk to you. And
we met. Yeah.
Right. And we started talking, started talking shop.
Yeah.
And that's where I will say that it began.
My brain is now venturing off into all these different areas because, I think that was our first meeting. And then I bumped into you again at another one of Lee's parties at the house, and you and I hovered around that keg for quite a while. I remember my wife wasn't happy with me, I think, by the end of the evening.
Right. Sorry.
Yeah, it happens. It's 25 years later, here we are. But that moment, and then every time I stopped in at Fairview, which was a very important place for me, Um, I would stop in if you were working, you were the first one to offer a cup of coffee and to like have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I love and appreciate so much of that because that's what our firehouses should be like. And a lot of them are, but many aren't.
Right.
And it's the I think the coffee is the vessel for the art of the conversation.
Yeah.
I think the coffee allows for conversation to flow, and the importance of having a coffee pot on or the availability to have one poured for you quickly, especially when a guest stops in. And I was a fireman there many, many years before you were.
Right.
And so I was long gone by the time you got hired there and came over from the city, right? So, and then you got hired there, and I was already out for many years.
Mm-hmm.
And, but it was fun because when I came back, there were still a lot of guys that I rode with that worked there or volunteered there still. And so there was that connection, and Fairview's always been a place of connection for me. I felt like I grew up in Fairview more so than my home department because it was from 18 years old to 21.
Right.
And we went to a bunch of fires during that time. And I got to know the guys there very well. And it was a great place to be a fireman.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way because I think the process requires you to gain trust. And I think over time at that firehouse, I gained the trust of the career staff to be considered an equal, if you will, you know?
Yeah, I always use the example that for the Fairview firefighters, you've made it as a volunteer when they're comfortable with you in the bunk room.
Right.
And that was one of the things where the night that you came to the firehouse and Steve Wilcher was like, "Oh, this is Jeremy," and I think
They call me Donch. There was never
right,
Jeremy.
yeah, this
Never Jeremy.
Donch and it was Wagnus was
Yeah.
with you, right? Like, and that when we had that cup of coffee, but like Steve said, "Oh, Jeremy could sleep in the bunk room," and that's when I was like, "Okay, so he was squared away as a volunteer."
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
So it's always been
It was a lot of fun, man. I had a blast there during my time, and I made a lot of friends. And I cut my teeth there as a young kid, learning the fire service in a way, right? And so it's always held a very special place for me. And I still find myself getting back there as much as I can. I was just up there the other day,
Yep.
And so on. And it's fun to watch you in your career blossom in Fairview and deputy chief today, which is it's pretty wild, man.
Tell me about it. It's it is every day I wake up and I'm like, what am I doing? So it's been an interesting journey, that's for sure.
But what, like, did you see it? Like, it's so funny because Fairview went from this quiet, sleepy combination department to a bustling department today. The footprint's bigger, the services are much grander, the response is bigger, right? And so like when I was there, it was like there was no deputy chief. It was like chief of department, right? And then, over time they grew out the roles and they grew out the staffing, right? And so on. So it's a very different department. I left there in 2000. So 26 years ago, I was a fireman there.
Right.
And in 26 years, it is considerably different
Yeah.
than where it was when I was there.
100%. The call volumes changed, obviously. The delivery of service has changed. And I mean, even in my time, so I started in the city because, 04, transferred to Fairview in 2007, and it was 4-man shifts. We were cross-staffing 2 BLS ambulances, 2 engines, and a quint. And that was like, and there were times where it was just like there was no fire protection because we were all out in ambulance
Sure.
calls. Or, it's like, do we take the engine and truck driver alone?
Right.
Like that way we have both of them. Do we, it's just all these wild things. And throughout the years, the progress has happened to where we've increased the shift size. We're up to 6 now. We have a daytime captain where that position used to be on shift. So you had this municipal training officer who's trying to do training for the department while he's on shift.
Right.
But he didn't, and like the archaic ideas of like, well, we can't pay the guy overtime. So like,
Wild.
it's just, I'm happy to say that we've progressed, and especially in the last couple of years, it's been leaps and bounds for sure.
Well, and no doubt, right? And I've seen it through your eyes, but also stopping in and just seeing the different culture that it is today. And and that's exciting, I think, because watching things progress is important. We need to make movement and we need to push it forward. And it seems like there's a commitment to doing that. You and the chief today are certainly working hard at protecting your people and representing the district, and super cool to watch, right? For me, I always talk about, like, you only know what you know. And I wonder today for you, you came in 04, so you're there 22 years now, right? Or you came in 06, I guess, right?
07 is when I trained.
07.
Yeah.
So, okay, so do the math, right? You're probably one of the longer serving guys within the department now, I would assume, correct?
Yep.
A lot of the guys that you started with are long gone.
Correct. Yeah.
So it is different today than it was when you first came in, but you only know what you know. So for you and just a few other guys, preserving the history of yesterday falls on you, because there's not many guys that were around then to share that today, right?
Yeah. When I served as captain and I was the MTO, one of the things that I wanted to make sure happened was that we didn't lose that history, because, like, obviously at that point I'd been involved with National Fire Radio and really got understanding the culture and traditions of the fire service. One of the biggest issues that we had was we had this high turnover rate. And how do you educate people when there's no senior firefighters to do that? Like, you don't, all of a sudden you lost the seniority, you lost the stories. Well, you invite them back. So I started inviting back retirees like TJ Ashline to talk about the struggles of the union, the things the union did. So that way, as they're looking at, because it's very easy for somebody to come in and be like, hey, why isn't this in this contract, or why are these things the way they are? I knew some of it because I was union president for a while, but like now I've got somebody coming in who can tell the story behind it, and then getting somebody like Al Kaler involved so he can tell that. Al's our historian of the department. He's been there since the horses, essentially. He's still coming around. He's still spry as ever. And for him to talk about those fires and the pictures on the wall, and give guys the history of, like, when we were at the old firehouse, in the old section of Fairview versus when we built this building. And that was one of the important things of setting the groundwork to know what Fairview was about. Because, like, when I came on, it was, this is the fire district, and we were established in 1910, and
Right.
I didn't know anything about it. Whereas now, like, we have the new guys coming in, and Al's telling them who the first career firefighters were, what the apparatus was, when we got an ambulance for the first time, and what a difference that made. So he's really kind of putting the chef's kiss on the history, and it starts planting that seed. So that way, I like to think that as the members are moving through with time and whatnot, they're kind of remembering that in the back of their head. And plus, we're in I don't want to say influencing it, but like, we're influxing history into the firehouse now with how we're trying to be a little bit more proud of our past.
Yeah.
Like, when you come in now, there's helmets that they're hanging up. It's a simple.
You guys have done a great job, right, on the surface from what I see, right? And so if that's any inkling of, like, what's happening behind the scenes, you're doing it right. I think what's really interesting to me is the other day when I was there with you and you were showing me around, and you were very proud of the changes that have been occurring, right? The day room has changed, the kitchen changed, the bunk room has changed. Like, you've outgrowing the existing building, and without getting a new building, you guys are really catering to the needs of the department today by kind of redoing the building from at all three levels, right? And so what's interesting with that is when we were walking outside and you wanted to show me all the training props and stuff that you guys built under the old volunteer pavilion, where once they used to have picnics and now it's a training ground, right, with a roof over it. And when we were walking outside, I looked up and I saw one of the helmets, and I think it was number 86. And I said to you, I go, line number 86. I go, like, Jerry and Joe were, like, I think 12 and 14.
Right.
And those were the guys that were there when I was there back in 95. And I was like, holy crap, like, the forward progression. I mean, I know it's been 25, 30 years. I get that.
Yeah.
But, like, to see it is like every guy that got hired would get a line number, and it just went in order.
Right. My badge number is 39. The only guy that, like, Chad Clouding is 37, so he's got me by a couple months. But yeah, like and now we're at 86 and 87.
It's wild.
And it's, and there was a lot of things that happened. There was a lot of, years that, like, be remiss if we didn't talk about. We talk about the history. You have to talk about the good and the bad, right?
Well, so that's what I was going to bring up, right? Is like, and I was going to kind of lead you there, Rob, because like there were big ebbs and flows within the department, right? Where people would come in and people would leave, right? It was a revolving door for a while.
Yeah, and I think that, for a lot of it, there were multiple reasons for it, but we had this issue of holding on to people, and we had a lot of uh I don't want to say, like, it was very transitional. Like, there's,
Yeah, it was turnover.
yeah, and some of that was our culture. Some of that was what we were projecting out as a department. And like, and one of the things that I know from myself as a leader, once I started to move up, like changing that culture, trying to make this, like, I used to say Fairview was the Fairview Fire District was an ambulance company that had a fire alarm problem.
Mm.
And we focused so much on EMS that, and EMS is a great thing, but it wasn't like we were forgetting that we were firemen. And that was a problem. And now we're like, I say we're like a fire department that also runs a BLS ambulance.
I love that.
Because we've gotten back into the culture of being a fire department.
Focused.
And like, you have to do that. You can't not be a fire department. And I think now we're, like I said, we're in a better space. At least it feels like we are. Maybe after this, like, the guys will be like, actually, chief, but that would be great too, because that means I'm having open dialogue with my members. So
I love that you said it that way, because so many departments have lost their way in understanding that they're fire department first and everything else is second. We sometimes tend to overlook the firemanship portion because EMS takes over, or community service, or smoke detector programs, or community outreach, and all these other things start to creep in on what the main foundation of the department was founded on. And now you kind of lose your identity. And I think that when firemanship is not the priority, everything else suffers.
Yeah, 100%. And you, like, you see it in organizations, because it's like, I think, like, Nick Martin talks about going into firehouses and how he can get a read on the fire station
Without a doubt.
out,
Right.
Like, and now, like, I don't want to get cocky about it, but it's a point where I walk in the firehouse now and I'm like, all right, this is a firehouse.
Yes.
We're back to being a firehouse again. And that's the important part for me.
You made a comment to me the other day. We were chatting, and you said, we had a small fire the other day, and you said, by the time I pulled up as the deputy chief, lines were stretched, guys were opening up, fire was out. And you said that you had like an aha moment, like, boom, like things are firing again. Like, we're back in it, and my people are dialed in, and they're excited to be firefighters. And I think for you as a deputy chief to say that to me really speaks to what and who you guys are today.
Yeah.
Right?
100%.
It's got to be a great feeling.
I mean, it was fantastic. Like I said, pulling into the block and seeing that the hydrant was made, a line was stretched off the rig to the front door, the ladder was up, and the guys were going to work. And, and it's, I knew exactly what was happening without even having to hear something on the radio.
Right.
And, and then the other thing we talked about was, a couple years ago, I don't know if we would have been like that.
Mhm.
And now we have consistency in how all four groups are delivering service to the community.
I love that.
And, and there was some resistance on it because we came out with SOPs or operating guidelines, or whatever terminology you want to use. But we were like, hey, this is what our expectation is. We want you thinking like there's going to be a fire. We want you acting like it. We want you stretching. Like, if there's a report of a fire, we want you stretching a line. We want you making a hydrant. We want you putting the ladder up. We want you doing all the things, because that is what we were here for. It says fire department on the side of the truck. So act accordingly.
Yeah.
And now, to see it, it's wild.
It's so cool, right? So Nick Papa was in here yesterday, and we were catching up on an episode, and he had said to me, in his position he's in today, he has the ability to create initiatives within the department, and now he gets to see them through.
Yeah.
That, I have to think, is exciting for you as well in the position you're in today, right? To rewind back just a few years ago to say that we need to refocus on our identity. We need to make clear and precise accountability structure for our members to know what we are and who we are, right?
Yeah.
And then to create those initiatives, to reinforce those initiatives, but then to watch it come to fruition.
Yeah.
That to me is like, not everybody in their career gets to make change and
Right.
see the outcome for the better.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. It is an interesting, and as you're saying this, I have a note on the side of my monitor or my computer on my desk. It's like, like, did I leave the department better than I found it? Did
Right.
I s- speak for somebody who couldn't speak for themselves? Did I invest in the
Mhm.
members and making sure all that happened? And as long as I follow those rules that are there, I'm going to be doing the right thing and seeing it come through like that. And that's really what it comes down to, is making sure, did I leave the department when I hang up my hat? Can I say that Fairview is a better place because of actions that we took?
100%.
And I think we can do that.
Yeah. And that's awesome to be able to say that, because you know how many people get stymied in their career, or as they progress, they have this idea that they're going to be able to make change, and I'm gonna enact all those things that pissed me off over the years. Now I have a seat at the table, and I'm gonna make this change, and they're just met with resistance. And before you know it, there is no bettering for the betterment of the department. It's more of, I'm just getting beat down, frustrated, and I'm out of here.
Yeah. And I mean, I escaped easy in that. Like, I got it easy because we did have the high turnover. So my group of people to get on board was small compared to
Right.
and this is the thing, like, right, everybody goes, oh, it's, oh man, I got these problems. I got this young department. I got this high turnover. Like, all these guys retired or they've transferred. And I stopped looking at it as a problem and started looking at it as, okay, fresh canvas. Like, we can paint whatever we want. If we want to paint a problem, we're going to paint ourselves a problem.
Yeah.
But if I want to paint a solution, that's what we're going to do. And I think between Justin and myself, and even Chief Gilnack, when he was, was chief, like, it was progress moving forward to give us the department that we wanted to see. And like, we're there, but like I said, I don't want to say that it was easy, but I definitely didn't have it as bad because my senior guys weren't there wasn't as many people to be like, hey, we always did it this way, and stomp their fist.
You only know what you know.
Right.
Right? Like, you think about your next hires within your department today come in, the history of the department is what's being told to them.
Yeah.
But what they see every day is the department you are today. And so they only know what they know. They're not polluted in the old way. They're not, if the old way was bad, right?
Right.
So it's like, that's what's exciting. And that's what I want to explain to people, is like, the only people that get crazy are the ones that romanticize about the way it used to be, whether good or bad, right? But the people coming in today, the youth coming into our fire service, they only know what they see when we invite them in and they become part of us.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, if they develop bad habits, it's because you gave them the bad habits.
Right.
Right?
There's a really hard thing to do, and it's to look into a mirror sometimes.
Oh, that's incredibly hard.
And like, there was a firefighter who transferred, and and I never will forget the light bulb moment when he said, and he didn't say it in his exit interview or anything like that, but he was just like, you guys always talk about this one fire chief, and he's not here anymore.
Right.
And that's when I was like, whoa, like, he's right.
Yeah.
Like, why am I, like, it is up to us now to change the direction of the ship. And that's for me, my mindset started to shift in that conversation. He doesn't know that had such an impact on me, but like, he was right, And so, like, looking in the mirror at myself and being like, hey, I'm part of the problem. Like, we've got to make a change.
Yeah.
And also, like, giving it up to, like, you can't be angry in the past. And I think that was a thing I fell into, is I was very upset with things, and, and anger doesn't get us anywhere.
Well, I can tell you, through our friendship, I have seen changes in you, and a lot of it was as of within the last 2 or 3 years, and it was really you recognizing how important and how serious you were taking your new position within Fairview.
Yeah.
And you at the end of the day, you said, I don't have time to be a part of this anymore. I'm focusing on my career and my people. And I have to tell you, Rob, like, I think that was a moment for me where I was like, God damn, like, fucking Rob, man. People talk about it, people talk about like, doing the right thing and this and that. And then you were like, no, I'm doing the right thing. Like, I'm going to do everything in my power to be good at my job for my people. And I've seen you do that. And I'm incredibly impressed and inspired by you.
Oh, thank you.
I really am, as a friend and somebody that I respect greatly. Like, and that's why I wanted you to be here. I wanted to say this on the show because I think it's important, and I'm getting emotional talking about it because I'm very proud of you for what you have done with Fairview, a place that I love, right? A place that I cut my teeth in, and seeing it today and walking in, and years ago you walk in and nobody got up from the table. Today you walk in, people get up, shake your hand, say hello, right?
Right. Yeah.
Just different. It's a different feel. And I know through your excitement and when we catch up on a phone call, right? Or just a quick drop in on each other, you're excited.
Yeah.
You're content. I think it's inspiring to watch because so many people I talk to are beat down and tired, frustrated. And I'm sure you have those moments too, right? I'm not painting this rosy picture of, it's the most magical place, but I have seen a change in you, and it's certainly a change for the better, no doubt.
Yeah, it's one, the hardest thing that I've had to do was, or one of the most difficult things was make that decision to say like, hey, and essentially like pull the plug, right, and be like, I can't manage being a deputy fire chief and doing things with National Fire.
I get it.
Like frontline mindset. Like I love the podcast, and hopefully there's an opportunity that
it's always an opportunity
to get it back
on.
Of course, but right now it's just not in the cards.
Right.
And when I looked at the, and I had this conversation at a conference that Doug Foster from Platico put on, where Justin and I talked about our first year as chief, and I said like, this is like, because somebody said, how do you manage all these things? And I said, you have to prioritize what's important. And I said, I've had to step away from National Fire Radio because I have 26 employees that I have to be worried about. Like, I am a father of 26 people now, right? Like, and if that's got to be my focus. So to one, making that decision, hard thing to do.
I know it.
There's got to be there's something's got to give at one point, right? And the other thing is that I was petrified. I didn't talk about it of getting promoted to being a deputy chief and losing my way as a fireman. And what I wanted to make sure that I did was still be a fireman.
I love that.
Still, because like right, like you become part of the admin team, and all of a sudden, like, and thank God I missed that day of admin class of fire chiefing where they were like, all right, you sit at your desk, you be a loser now, you don't do this, like, you don't go in the fires, like and there's probably a bunch of people out there that will tell me that I'm wrong in this, but I was like, all right, I got promoted, I'm still a fireman, I have a car, I have an air pack, and it's not in that car, and I have some tools, like, they're not there for decoration purposes. So, like, I made a commitment to myself that when I get to scenes, I'm going to dress out and I'm going to go to work. Like, if there's an opportunity for me to go to work, I'm going to go to work. And like, I've had that mindset, and that's where I want, like, go to work, like, just go to work, even to the point of like, I still try to get the probies when they come back from the academy and doing gear donning drills with them, just because, like, I want them to know that, like, hey, I'm not just some guy that's sitting in the office in a white shirt. Like, I'm out here, doing this stuff with you. I want to see that you're efficient in this. Like, my standard is that you do this in this amount of time. I want to see it. And okay, game on. Let's do it. Somebody say go, and we're gonna, we'll get the timer out, and we do it with them, because that's where I want to be.
I mean, you've said it. We've been talking about it, and you have been you have made a point of telling me how important it is to dress out for runs. And you say when, people look at you a little bit differently, and because you're walking up as part of as a chief, what can we help you with? But you're already dressed up, ready to go, right? Air pack on, tool in hand. You say, listen, I can take an interior spot. You need me to take a division? You want me to take a, safety, whatever you need. But insert me into your program. I'm not going to stand here and watch you burn this house down.
Right.
And that mantra still exists in a lot of places where chiefs walk up. I get incredibly frustrated, when guys are turned out in their gear and ready to work, and then a chief walks up and, in street clothes, right? And it's just like, okay, I mean, it's your place to do it, and that's how you want to roll. But at the end of the day, like, chiefs are still firemen, right? And
Yeah.
like, you can pick up that line and help me move it and not step over it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that goes a very long way. And I think you set the tone. I think when you, especially like away games, right? When you go mutual aid and your chiefs are dressed out and
Yeah.
they're ready to go to work, it sets the tempo. It sets the temperature for your department and who you guys are and how you operate on the fire ground, right? It's like you're dialed in, and there's nothing haphazard about it. It's all intentional, and I think that's how you want to create a reputation that is for the better, right?
Yeah.
Game time, ready to go,
Yeah.
right?
And I think your away games are ones where like it's a little bit more on the line, uh, because you are showing up as a guest, so you want to be a good guest. Like, I like walking up to mutual aid fire specifically with an air pack on, with a Halligan in my hand and a command board in the other one, so that way I'm like very clear in my intentions. Like, do you need me to go
Right.
over here and start supervising work
Right.
and pushing, or do you need help with this? And we can start doing unit allocation and resource management, and like, let's get control of this. Which one is it? Because one, I'm putting the waist strap around my belt or my belt around my waist, and or we're clipping it and going to work. The other one is we're ditching the pack and we're going to aggressively command this
Right.
from here. And it's important. But even on our own fires, like, it's important to put, like, we had a fire over the winter at one of our famous bacons here, the old 68 Fairview Avenue, and it's like, it was important. Like, I wasn't
That's still standing, by the way.
somehow it's very well
That's
built
the old
building.
the Schatz built, like that whole
Yeah, that
factory
whole
area.
Fairview
Yeah,
Business
yeah,
Park
yeah, yeah,
on
yeah.
St.
I
Francis
went to
Hospital.
fires there.
Yeah, and it's it's filled with all sorts of trash now, and there's a guy who just every now and then he keeps lighting it on fire. We caught him. He was in jail for a while.
He's
He's
a bad
out.
guy. It's good for
know.
business.
Yeah. But even in that incident, I had my hood on, and I wasn't gonna be putting a pack on and going. My job was to stay outside and,
Sure.
and run that fire. But like, still, everybody who came up, I wanted to see. I want them to see that I'm doing the same thing. That like, my goal is to get in there. I felt like I was leashed to the car, but I was pulling on that leash, even though I had to.
I'll tell you, unless you come from a very, very large job, and even there, most of your chiefs are dressing out and taking a forward command position, right? But there's nothing better than a senior guy in the fire service looking over his shoulder in the fire building, and there's a chief right next to him or a chief right down the hallway from him that's dressed out and ready to go and on air, or like there's a whole nother level of appreciation and respect
Yeah.
for guys that continually find their way to get into that fire building, right? Like, I'm the negotiator, right? If I'm coming to your fire, I will talk our way into that fire building.
Yeah.
Right. I'm the politician on the front lawn that throws out 15 different suggestions about, like, hey, have you guys done this yet? Has this been accomplished? Right. Search is complete. This, that. Has the building been softened in the rear? Like, what do you need done? You need another line to the floor above? Like, prompting a command staff, especially early on in the incident, to make sure that the tasks are being handled. A lot of times they're overwhelmed in the get, as right?
Yeah.
So, anybody that's been in that command position has understand what it's like to be overwhelmed in the first few minutes. So when you get some experience walking up that has a crew ready to go, and they can volunteer, like, hey, did you get that line to the floor above? We're happy to get up there. We'll start searches and get a line up there for you. Like, yes.
Yeah.
You just check that box off for me. I got a company going there. Perfect. Right. So I'm the negotiator on the fire ground. Like, I don't want to go and stand in the front yard like a fucking shepherd. Like, I want to get in that building, but my job is to get my guys in that building. That's my job.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm going to talk our way in. Let's go, guys. And we walk and charge right past everybody else standing there because we took the initiative and understood where to fit in on the fire ground.
Yeah.
That's a powerful thing. And when a chief does that, I have so much respect for chiefs that come to work.
Right.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like I said, it's important because, like I said, for me, I didn't want to lose being a fire, because that every leader that I've ever worked under was an example, whether it was good or bad. It was an example
100%.
of what you were going to experience. And I
Right.
didn't want to be that guy that just didn't have a clue anymore because he wasn't doing it. And that, like, how many times has that plagued the fire service where you get that admin that just they're out of touch? And I mean, even down to the point of like twice a month, I'm making the attempt to ride out on the overnight with the guys, doing a 24. It ends up being like a 36, but like I ride out with the guys at night and I go on every call with them, including the ambulance calls. Like priority for lift assist, I'm going on that because like I don't want to lose touch with what's happening
Sure.
in the street. I
Right.
don't want, I know somebody gave me a little hard time because I rode the ambulance the one day, and unfortunately we didn't get any calls, which was really, I was a little pissed
Did you
about
put
it.
in a little divert action for yourself so you didn't
Right,
have to
yeah.
turn out?
I instituted the Alarm Reduction Act of 2026, and
It's perfect. It's your job as a chief to do that. So well done.
but like even the simple fact of getting on the rig, signing in on the tablet, and being like, "Hey, we're going to do this today," and checking the ambulance, like it it it, it just grounds you to the fire service. And there was other, ironically, I got the idea from a police officer because I think the chief of the Miami Police Department does this, where he once a month goes out on a night patrol and he suits up and he's making arrests with the guys and stuff.
Right.
And I was like, that's leadership right there. I want to be like that. And that's, like I said, just to keep yourself grounded, to have the pulse on the department.
But I also think too, right? Keeping yourself grounded for sure. And then that parlays into when you are making decisions, you're feeling it or seeing it firsthand, right?
Yeah.
So you're not speaking from the ivory tower. You're not sitting in the admin office making policy or dictating new guidelines, and you haven't been out there to see what's actually occurring, right?
Right.
And so it's one thing to see, and I know you and I have spoken about some specific examples. You were like, this happened. I was there for a front row seat. I saw how it went down.
Yeah.
And I was able to, as the deputy chief, to make a corrective measure to make sure that my people were fairly represented, right? And so we don't have to get into that, but I'm just saying, like, it worked in the favor of your guys because you were there, you saw what happened, and you were able to correct it.
Yeah. See it through
Right.
the lens.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's huge. I know like one instance just that I can talk about is like going to the hospitals.
Well, so that was, yeah.
Right, like going into the emergency department and seeing what the holdup is, and then seeing these backups and being able to be like, hey, what's happening here, and then get an attitude from somebody and be like, excuse me, who's the supervisor? Like that's who I want to talk to because and I feel weird saying this, but like I'm the deputy chief. Like I'm not talking to you. I want to talk.
That's what I'm saying, though. You have the ability to make an impact because you have the collar brass, right? And like that is where like our people can be held delayed at the hospital for 25 minutes dropping off a patient, right?
Right.
What's the delay? And then you get attitude back. It's like, wait a minute. Like I appreciate you're stressed and so on, but there's a right way and a wrong way, and that's the wrong way.
Yeah.
And this carries a little bit of weight. So I can now,
Right.
Hey, can I talk
Well,
to
and if you're talking to me like this, how are you talking to
That's
my
right.
crews?
That's
How
right.
are you talking to my patients?
That's
Like,
right.
That's, it just, yeah. And it's a good cascade of events that happens. And I encourage any chief that's out there to at least do it once, take the time. I mean, I know as Chief Nicholson was, from the FDNY did this, like he was riding with companies, and, riding that back step. Like it's such a grounding thing for a leader to do, to see what their members are experiencing in the street. Plus it keeps your skills sharp, which is always beneficial as well. Cause you don't want to look like a hand job on the fire ground.
Definitely not. Definitely not. But I think, I'm just super proud of what you've accomplished and where you are. And, I just, for me, being from that family years ago, it's just, it's nice to see the direction and I don't know, the culture that it is today. It's fun to watch.
Yeah. Building culture is people talk about it. Doing it and executing is a whole nother story. And it is rough. It's not easy. There's no straight line to the path, but like keeping your head down to the grind and keeping on it will get you there.
And it's those recognizing those small victories, right? Like that's the thing, taking it from initiative to seeing the impact that it has. Like when you get to do that, it reinforces the right and maybe sometimes the wrong. Maybe we got to walk this back, right? Like maybe this wasn't the right initiative, right? So I think that's really incredible, but it takes some certainly reflection and humility to recognize the delivery of that, right?
Yeah. The wrong is one of the things too. Like before we came down today, I was talking to one of my lieutenants about just, we were kind of just catching up because I haven't seen him in a little bit. And I said to him, I said, I know that I do things not how the book is supposed to go. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, well, like, like it's lonely at the top. Like that's the one thing. Like it gets very lonely. Like the struggles that I've had in this is like understanding that I'm not part of the crew anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and then there's an isolation that happens just because you're not part of it.
That's
Like,
right.
and you can be invited in, but you can't be part of it anymore. Like that's just it is.
There
what it
has to be a separation, right?
Yeah.
There has to be a line, no doubt.
But like I was talking to him, I said, like, I know there's times where like we just get frustrated and I don't want to say I bitch down, but like there's nobody to bitch at. But like and it just happens. And he's like, yeah, but you know what? Like the reality of that is at least I know something's happening with you and I know you're not happy. To hear it and to have you like I'd rather have you get it out and talk to me about it than keep it inside and keep it all bundled up.
That's a strong conversation, man.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, yeah, like and he's like, do we want to hear like oh my, the dog trapped on the carpet or whatever,
Right?
But like when there's something going on, like letting us know, and that's like communication. We're horrible at communicating, so it's really like finding that's been another struggle is like how do we communicate? How do we get the message out without doing too much or too little? And it's like this balancing act that just never. I mean, it never ends. It's wild.
I get that, man. Balancing is one of those things today that like I just don't understand. I don't think there is balance. Balance is 70-30, 60-40. It's never 50-50. And sometimes you take and sometimes you give, right?
Yeah.
And I just think that like more people need to understand that, right? If anything, we've done a better job today recognizing that sometimes you need time for yourself. Period.
Yeah.
Right. You know me. I mean, I've struggled with that for how long, right? Like, and I'm starting to recognize more that like I'm starting to see those signs and symptoms of when I need to take a half a step back.
Yeah.
Right. And just say like, man, I need this Sunday afternoon to be me, and just enjoy a cigar, watch some golf and just kind of disconnect. Right. I've been doing that more. And now as the weather's getting nicer, it's even more, it's like you're starting to really enjoy it. But I've recognized that I absolutely need somewhat of a disconnect at every so often. And I just burn it at both ends, and so, and you and I have had a fun 8 years with National Fire Radio. I mean, 2018, bro, we started this thing, right? 2018. And I remember like mental health, the first couple times we talked about mental health.
Right.
And I was like, I don't get it.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Who did we talk to? An older guy.
Jeff Dill.
Yep. And we did an episode.
Behavioral Health Alliance. Shout out.
You remember we did an episode.
Yep.
And I was like, Jeff, I don't get it. I don't understand the struggles. It's just life. Like pick yourself up, put your big boy pants on and brush yourself off. And that was an uneducated and, I want to say like, I'm trying to find the right word for it, but it was an uneducated, like sheltered point of view.
You don't know what you don't know.
Right. And I've had plenty of tragedy in my life. I've had serious calls, that did not end well. I've had, plenty of tragedy. I just wonder how much of that I've suppressed over the years and it comes out in a different way and I've never even recognized it. But I think what was interesting about that, and this goes back probably 6 years ago, I bet, when we had this conversation with Jeff, I bet. And if not more, it might have been even more than that. And I remember what a staunch proponent you were of it. And you and I there was a disconnect there that I didn't understand. I didn't understand the value of recognizing the issues of mental health and how it plagued the fire service, right, or first responders. And now today,
right,
I'm in a whole different place with it, right? It's like, and if anything, it's I always say with maturity comes clarity. Like I've grown up a little bit, right? In 8 years. I was 40 years old. I should have been a man. I'm still a child, right? Like, I still am. I'm 49 now, right? I'm going to be 50 next year. And I'm like, man, I don't feel 50, right? But you think like 50, you should have this like wisdom and maturity about yourself. And I'm like, maybe I don't. Maybe I do. Maybe I don't know. But what I'm getting at is like, National Fire Radio for me, and I kind of want your feedback on this, is like
Yeah.
just going down memory lane of so many years with us doing this and having so much fun with it. But a lot of, there were a lot of things that we learned along the way. And NFR has made me a much better human being today than I would have been without it. I know that.
No, 100%. I think I get emotional thinking about it, but like,
No crying today.
all right. My success that I can say, like the things that I have succeeded at
Yeah.
like, National Fire Radio has played a huge role in it. And I look at like the contacts that we have made and the things that
Sure.
I've learned and been exposed to.
100%.
And I like, and I laugh because we use the term Rolodex, but like, the contacts that we were able to get, like it's,
How deep it goes.
right. And, even to the point of, I think of becoming captain and wanting to change from 1.75" hose in our high rise back to using the 2.5 with the 2-inch lead and getting resistance from guys and the ability to call somebody like Ray McCormick up and be like, "Hey, Ray, I'm running into this issue. I don't know what to do." And he's like, "What, you don't think it won't work?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like they're saying it won't work." He's like, "Huh, well, I'll come up with my hose and we'll see if it works." And like just having like that kind of like it's all been like it's all come together and it's made it and it's definitely helped. So thank you for having me involved.
Well, thank me.
It's I can definitely say that I've like I said the lessons that I've learned are many. But yeah, like
I think it comes with doing the right thing. Like I remember out of the gate with this thing, it was new, it was different. There was really nothing like it in the fire service, right? And this is 2018, right? Compared to where we are today. But back then, this was very new, and there was tremendous resistance to what we were doing, and we had plenty of hate, and so on. And that's okay. That's anything new, right? Is going to meet some resistance, right? But I knew from the get we had to be 100% transparent and authentic in what we were doing.
yes,
Right? No embellishment, no bullshit. We're not any better than we say we are, and we stay in our fucking lane, period. Like that was the big thing. And most people get that confused, right?
oh yeah,
Right. And so for us, it's like, I think we've had the longevity we've had and the success we've had. And I say success because for me, every day is a blessing with what we get to do here.
Yeah.
And so it's a success in my world. Others might think differently, and I don't care. Right. Like for me, this has been an incredible opportunity, and it's just allowed us to be better people because of the lessons learned, the communications we've had, the friendships made. It's made me a better fireman, better husband, better father, better business owner. My best friends today, my very close inner circle, are all from the direct efforts of National Fire Radio.
Yeah. The people that I reach out to are people that we have come in.
Isn't that wild?
It is. It's insane.
I am so grateful for all of the relationships, good and bad, right? And but I look at like my core group today are people that I met through this avenue. And I'm so grateful for that. We've had some fun, man.
Yeah. I don't know if we can talk about it or not, but there is that you said that we stayed in our lane.
Mhm.
And I think that's so important to hit on because
Talk about it. I'll talk about all of it.
Yeah, like I'm witnessing from the sidelines people who are not staying in their lane.
Of course.
And it's very frustrating because like we've talked about this with other guests before and friends in our circles and stuff about vetting and everything else. And I'm just trying to figure out how people are kind of like the I always use it like hey, these are your left and right range limits, stay within them. And there are like this just seems like this veering right off and like they're not even on the road anymore. And it's like, where did that 18-wheeler just think it's going? Like, like what is behind this mindset of this? Because sometimes I ask myself, did we open the door for people to think that they could do this?
Yeah, I think we had some impact on that, right? The influencer of the fire service type thing, right?
Yeah.
I think we were probably one of the first to market in representing the fire service on the newer channels of delivery, right? And with that's going to come pushback. I think what's interesting about staying in your lane is I can speak to this because I almost found myself doing what so many do today.
Yeah.
when we started out early on, we got a lot of attention quick because it was different. It was new. Social media was firing off. Organic social was popping like crazy. So our content was hitting fast. And we went from starting in my mother and father-in-law's in garage, right?
Right.
We started there doing a podcast, which then went to social media. The social media was designed to support the podcast, right? And once we started putting it out on social, this thing went fast. And before you know it, you start to believe your own shit.
Yeah.
Now, not that we were speaking out of church or speaking on things that we were not able to speak on.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The idea was always to be a steward of the message by presenting other people's perspectives and points of view. Right. That was always the case. It didn't matter about my history or pedigree.
Right.
But I think what happens is people, you start to get some attention. Right. And I remember feeling all of this. Right. Because I'm watching this happen today with so many people in this space. But the lack of the checks and balances and the humility is not there today. Right. And I'll circle back on that in a minute. I think where I found myself early on was like my ego started believing the success of it. Yeah. And you start to recognize like, oh, look at this. Like people like me. Right. People might not like me, but the majority of people like me. They like the content because they're liking, sharing, following.
Right.
So you start to believe your own shit.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like people never want to hear the booing, but everybody always wants to hear the cheering.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like there's influencers that ban people from leaving contents. Right. So there's people that block, people, which is hilarious to me. Like if you're going to put yourself out there, you don't get to block people.
Right.
You don't get to block people because now you're manufacturing your information and delivery. Right. If you're going to manufacture what you're doing because you don't want to hear a different perspective or point of view, or even a hater saying like, I hate the way you look, or your message sucks, or you have no credibility. If you can't pony up and take that feedback,
right,
there's a problem.
Yeah.
And now if you're going to manufacture your audience because you're going to block people, that means you're listening to the cheering and not the booing.
Right.
You can't listen to either. Like I am so grateful this year at FDIC, Rob was ridiculous, right? Walking around, I did a test this year at FDIC. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm not going to wear anything that says National Fire Radio on it. I'm going to nothing. I wore regular street clothes.
Right.
I was dressed up for the Rev stuff. In between that, I was wearing probably a ragtop t-shirt because these guys send me a t-shirt every month. I freaking love Pete and the guys there.
Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Unbelievable. I love these shirts, right? I wear them all the time. So I'm dressed in other people's stuff and regular clothes. And the idea was not to advertise National Fire Radio, but to see what type of impact we've made just by people recognizing me or the messaging that I'm doing with the different manufacturers we were working with. This year was out of control. Yeah. Like I literally couldn't go 20, 30 feet without being stopped and somebody saying something nice. A couple people would like look at you. And I'm so grateful for all of it. I love every single interaction that I have with people. I appreciate the kind words. I just got an email yesterday, some guy from Delaware, and I can't wait to respond to him. Super kind message about the podcast. And he's like, I don't do podcasts. I found yours. Your podcast gives me a recharge, and I'm falling back in love with the job again. Like I get those messages very often, Rob, and I'm so grateful for all of that.
Yeah.
But you can't let that go to your head.
Right.
You can't let that create the manufactured narrative for yourself.
Yeah.
You can't listen to the hype. You also can't listen to the boo. And when you're doing this for the right reasons, none of that matters because you're right in the middle of it all because you're here for the right reasons to deliver good content, to bring value. How many times have I said that to you over 8 years?
Right. Yeah.
Everything we do with National Fire Radio has to bring value. It has nothing to do to be a selfish post. We don't post to be selfish.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, no, and that was the value proposition was always the guiding factor.
It has to be at least 51% value to the consumer, 49% for National Fire Radio. We don't get to step over that 50%. We don't get to do that because when you do, then it's manufactured. You're doing it for you and your gain. Now, fast forward, Legacy Fire posters, Legacy Fire cards, our swag, our merchandise. Those are asks, right? That's for us.
Yes.
But that's the stuff that helps us do what we do.
Right.
Right? And it's, again, the mission of Legacy Fire Cards is to promote the fire service. It's to promote, but I can't do that for free. So there has to be a price associated with it, right? So my point is, with our content and who we are as a company, we are for profit because we do consulting, media marketing for manufacturers. We have other things that we're involved with. But the content we put out for the fire service, the podcast, right? Yeah, there's sponsorships, but that doesn't guide my thoughts and insights. It's my personal take on the fire service of leadership and firematics and strategies and relationships and all that. This is just me trying to bring some type of value based upon my own experiences. And that's all it needs to be. But you watch now, so much of what people are doing is 100% manufactured.
Yeah.
And what gets me, and I love this, right, is like there's guys that will get on social media and say, I haven't posted in a week or two because I needed to focus on myself, but I'm going to come out with some new content. But thank you for the ones that were there that noticed I haven't been here, and I appreciate the support.
Right.
So you just made that all about you.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
Right? It's all about you. It has nothing to do. It has nothing to fucking do with bringing value. You took a time out and you want to be rewarded for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are we, like, that is manufactured. You know what you do? You take a week or two off to collect your thoughts, ideas. You need a reset, but I don't need to announce it to the world. When you announce that, it's now manufactured.
Right.
It's now drawing a narrative of, I need to be coddled. I need an attaboy. It's okay, brother. You take all the time you need. When you're ready to come back, we'll be here for you. Shut the fuck up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, and that's because where this originally came from for me is I saw a post and we were talking about it, I think the other day, like the fire service needs less influencers.
I saw that.
And man, like it's been living in my head.
It's living in my head because that's what I am, right?
Exactly. And I said, well, because I it's one of the things where I kind of like sometimes I see influencers in the wild on Instagram, and I'm just like, man, could you imagine some of our earlier content when we couldn't get it right? Like that would be perfect stuff. Like
it was cringe, dude.
Like there was
cringe.
Real quick, there was one where we were in a factory and we were doing the thing. I was moving the camera down, and I remember you said, "Why are you not filming me?" And it was just because we were so shot. We were mentally just tired, and we called it quits after that. But anyway, like the fire service needs influencers, and we had influencers. My influencers were Ray McCormick, Mike Dugan, Vincent Dunn. Like they wrote books. They had articles in fire engineering. Mike Champo. Like these are people who I looked up to in the fire service, and
who are now friends of yours,
right? Who I needed to have to guide me into what I like stupid ideas. Like I remember sitting in my first engine class with Ray and at Firehouse Baltimore back in the day when that was the Wild West, and it was awesome. The Ray had a picture and he said, "Sorry, Boston," because it was from a Boston fire, and there was like 6 lines going through the door all tangled up in each other. And it was like I'd never thought that moment in my life about wow, I never thought about putting all the hose lines in the door and how they would get jammed up. Like that's not in the book.
Sure. This episode's brought to you by Garage. Are you tired of waiting around for your truck to sell or getting pennies on the dollar for perfectly good fire apparatus? There is a better way to sell trucks, and it's called Garage. Garage is an online platform built specifically for the fire service. Think eBay, but for everything from SCBAs to ladder trucks. It is free to list, and with thousands of serious buyers visiting the site every day, your surplus apparatus gets national exposure fast. If you're not sure what your truck's worth, I mean, you know that's one of the hardest parts of selling surplus equipment. If you price it too high, it sits, and if you price it too low, you leave money on the table. That is why Garage built their instant appraisal tool. It uses real nationwide marketplace data to give you a live estimate on your truck's value. And it's completely free with no obligation to sell. Once you accept an offer, Garage handles the heavy lifting. Freight coordination, paperwork, and payment processing are all taken care of so you can stay focused on serving your community. And if you have apparatus coming up for sale or are searching for your next truck, visit shopgarage.com today and contact Garage.
And like, so like my point is I needed that. And that's where my knowledge started of being like, okay, like this is the thing. Like, so we need influencers. We need people out there to shepherd the message along. But what we don't need is what you're talking about is a self advertising and this pity of like, hey, woe is me. You know, I have a toxic boss. Like I don't ever want to hear anybody tell me about their toxic boss because I've worked with the toxic bosses. Like, let's have a conversation about it on the side. Let's not put it out there. Cause sometimes what I hear is I have a problem with accountability. And
so that
like,
Rob Ridley,
like
you are opening a door for me.
like, but no, it's the thing. Cause like how, like, yeah, like I've worked for some people and there was a point where I even caught myself. I can say like, hey, I was really, really, prickly about some of my previous leaders because of the damage that they did.
Sure.
But it was up to me to change that. It was up
That's
to
it.
me to be the leader.
That's it.
And you know, and the only thing that I can say sometimes I regret is there was I did an interview once where I felt like I hit on the toxic leadership a little too much, you know, and maybe it got personal, and it wasn't like this wasn't the place to do it, you know, and like that's I don't know like that. I feel like I've just rambled on there, but
No, but you open a door. I said you open a door because like, you know my position on this. And what I don't like is people that raise issues for the sake of raising issues, but offer zero solutions.
right.
And it's easy today to manufacture a narrative that seems to be popular in the fire service. And then you plant your flag on that and you run with that. And that is who you become.
Right.
But you never make any forward progress on it. You're looking for sympathizers to join you in your complaining and whining, right?
Yeah.
Here's my story. Poor me. Oh, you recognize my story. Now you're getting the kudos and the attaboys. It's like, oh, I know what you're going through. It envelops you. And you believe all of that. And now it consumes you. And before you know it, it becomes your identity.
Right.
And now you're the poor me guy who, you know, toxic culture is bad. And I'm the toxic culture guy. I'm the guy that was picked on, or I'm the guy that was this or that. And instead of coming out from the other side of it, right? And finding a way to navigate that space, it consumes you. And now that's your messaging. And now it's a manufactured point of view because at some point you should have been able to move on and fix it, right? And address it.
Yeah. I always looked at it as, hey, here's the toxic culture. I've experienced this. And maybe it's even some self-reflection on myself, but like what we haven't heard is this is how you fix it.
Right.
This is how, as a leader, a fire service leader, you take your crew aside and say, that person is not going to represent our own ideals. And we are going to move forward and be aggressive firemen no matter what anybody else says. Like, show me that framework. Show me, like, yes, tell me how you got downtrodden and everything, but like, give me the story and the effort on how you got up from that. Because that's what we're missing. And that's what I want to see. Like, and maybe that's, you know, I feel like one of the things I was worried about today, I was like, you know, I'm going here and a month or two, I'm going to be back on Frontline Mindset talking about this, but like, because it's that much of a vacuum that I'm like, I feel the pull to come in.
Vacuum. That is a very good word, Rob, because I think so many people today are living in their own echo chambers. They've created these echo chambers where they are finding all the people that support them, but don't push back on them. Right? When you surround yourself with like-minded people, we talk about it in the fire service all the time. Go to a conference, find like-minded people. Start an Instagram page or a Facebook page, find like-minded people. Surround yourself with people that make you better. Yeah. However, you can't live in an echo chamber. And when everybody looks the same and talks the same, and everybody's a rah-rah, and everybody pushes you, and you're blocking people, or you don't want the pushback, and you're only listening to the cheering and not the booing, you live in an echo chamber. And the problem is when somebody does get through to your echo chamber and pushes back on you, you fucking shut down and cry.
Right.
That's a problem. That's a problem in our fire service. That's a problem in society today, is you can find your group And then people insulate themselves in their groups. I'm planting my flag here. This is my group. These are my people. And I surround myself with them. And then somebody comes along and they'll be like, well, I disagree with you. I think you're fucking wrong. And then next thing you know, right? Next thing you know, you're pushing back and crying and being like, I don't understand. This is the problem with the fire service. This is the problem with the world we live in today. Why can't they accept my point of view? Why can't they do this? Why can't they? Fuck off. Like, everybody's allowed to have their perspective and point of view, and not everybody's going to get along. And yes, you're allowed to have pushback and be held accountable for things you said. I love watching people that have podcasts put content out for the clickbait, and then their guests get mad at them because they put out clickbait, and now their guest holds the podcast host accountable and says, you didn't take my feelings into consideration. I might have said that in a podcast, but that doesn't mean that you get to put it out there as clickbait or edit and chop it up in a way that makes you get the clicks and the likes, and it makes me look like an asshole.
Yeah. So I have a picture in my office. I don't know if I don't think I showed it to you, but it's from Instagram. I took a screenshot. And it's there's it's a picture of Willis doing work at a house fire, and I had been in there with him, and I needed to take a blow, so I sat down, and this was I call it a transitional house fire because I went from being part of the command staff to getting my air pack on and going in, so my phone was in my pocket, and it was just a cool photo, and as I'm sitting there huffing and puffing, I'm like, I snap a picture, and somebody out there said, would love to know what is going through your mind as a chief officer that you feel it's appropriate to be taking pictures inside a structure fire. Typical social media firefighter. What a clown. Keep pretending.
I love that.
I screenshotted that and I printed it out, and it is on my wall of my office. I might not agree with that person, but the fact that he called me out, or she, or whoever it was, like, that is a nice, gentle reminder of should I have been taking a picture? I don't know. I'm going to defend myself.
It was in the moment.
I fucking took the picture. I don't
Rob,
care.
we all have done things, right?
Yeah. I made a decision and I'll stick by it. But like the fact that the guy called me out, and that is the reminder that, like, hey, like, this is this is what the world is. And it sits up there, and every day I look at it, I come in my office and I'm like, hey, you're infallible. Like, or you're not infallible. Like, somebody can point out to you
100%.
and they can do it in a public manner. And if this is what it is, but to hide that, like, no.
Bro, you know how many people don't like me, disagree with my messaging? This episode's going to ruffle feathers, I'm sure. Right? Yeah. But you know what? It's who I am, and I'm willing to have a conversation. You want to call and have a conversation? Great. Right? Like, I'm here.
Yeah,
and every time somebody pushes back, I address it.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? They typically fold every fucking time. My point is this. If you're not going to listen to the boo, don't listen to the praise.
Right.
If you're going to live in a world where everybody that praises you builds your ego, and you start to lose the fact that, your humbleness is gone, your humility is gone. You say you're humble. I'm a humble servant. No, you're not. You're self-serving. You're self-serving because you live in an avenue that is fueling your ego, because everybody is yesing you and telling you how wonderful you are.
Yeah.
Because you've turned off all the boos. If you're going to turn off all the booing, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
You need the booing. You need people to hold you accountable. And I don't care what you say. I have plenty of friends that are in my true inner circle that hold me accountable.
Yeah.
They are my biggest fans. They will cheer me. We talk business every day. We talk fire service every day. We talk family. We talk relationships. We talk it all. Money, you name it. We talk about it all. But as soon as some line is crossed or we disagree, we can have that conversation too.
Yeah.
And when you're not willing to be held accountable anymore, and you live in this echo chamber where you're just believing your own shit because all you do is surround yourself with hype men,
right?
You're losing.
Yeah.
And the problem is like 8 years with National Fire Radio now, 100% transparent and authentic. Mm-hmm. I stand by that. It's in every single time I teach my program. There's a slide in there about who we are, and that defines who we are, period. There's no embellishment. There's no bullshit. And I've come to recognize that I can't listen to the cheers and I can't listen to the boo. I have to stay in the middle and do what's right.
Yeah.
I think why so many social media pages and influencers, quote unquote, in the fire service have come and gone over 8 years.
Yeah.
It's because they didn't stay in the middle.
Right.
They listened to the cheering or they listened to the booing and they faded away and disappeared. Because when you listen to one side or the other, it becomes self-serving. You can't be self-serving. It's not about you. Get over yourself.
Right.
And it's gross. There's so much of it today that it's incredibly frustrating. I've been talking about this more and more. And I actually recorded a whole episode on this that I never released because I knew it was too deep. It just, it hit.
Yeah.
It hit. And I'm like, we can't put that out yet. This is a much better conversation on it. So thank you, sir. This is what you do for me all these years. You know that.
We want what is right for the fire service at the end of the day. And like, I want everybody to do better. And that is like, and I think that's a funny thing is like, I said this before, like, hey, you have the toxic leadership, show me how you can come out and you know, how you rally off the ground from that. We're doing that right now because we're saying like, hey, stay in the middle, stay true to yourself and stay in the middle. And that you're going to find success there because there's so many things that we're seeing. And I said, like I said, I saw that post and I really was struck at it because I think I know the intention of it. But I know that we need, like the fire service needs influencers. They need people who are out there preaching the good word, so to speak. We need our Mo Davises out there saying,
100%.
Don't be a coward, get in there and fight fires.
And the funny thing is like I say it all the time, right? Like we work with so many different types of people, right? From training groups and conferences to manufacturers to dealers to firefighters to everybody in between. We have our toes in so many, bodies of water, right? Like we are fully immersed in so many different avenues of the fire service. And I think we have built this trust. Somebody said the other day, like, oh, you're that guy that everybody goes to and confides in and talks to. And I said, yeah, because I'm trustworthy.
Right.
Because we have built something that people respect. And it's done because of all the hard work we put in, you and I, and Sebi.
Yep.
Like we worked hard to protect what this is. And it's a long game. I think that's the other part of it too, Rob, that people don't understand is that we're 8 years in, bro. We haven't even scratched the surface. Right? It's taken 8 years to build trust and transparency for people to get to understand who we are as people, as individuals, as firefighters, as husbands, fathers, business owners, right? All that, right? It has taken us all this time to develop a relationship with people that understand who we are. I am in no hurry to do something more. And so I watch like the speed of which some people are building things and I go, this is a house of cards that will crumble.
Right.
Period. And I don't give a shit. I support anybody that wants to make the fire service better. Let me be clear. Like I 100% support any group, organization that wants to make the fire service better. What I don't support is the bullshit, the smoke that's in front of it. And there are a lot of groups. There was a firefighter-owned business not too long ago that trash-talked reputable business in this industry and then stole money from all the guys that were buying shit from them, right? And I could go down that road, and how many people jumped on that guy's bandwagon and stood up for him in public and trash-talked reputable people because of this scumbag, right? Only to find out that he stole tens of thousands of dollars from all these different groups. And the guy's an absolute piece of shit. But because he was on social media and everybody bought into his fucking hype, right? Now, all of a sudden, there was damage there that wasn't fixed for me. Like, I know certain influencer groups or people on social media that supported this scumbag, that trash-talked friends of mine, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not coming back and supporting you.
Right.
You jumped on a bandwagon. You had the wool pulled over your eyes. He made a fool of you. And now you come back like nothing happened?
Nah.
Where's the fucking accountability?
Yeah.
What we have to do better. I mean, I know we're all human and we're all flawed, and I get that, right? Totally. I have more flaws than anybody, right? I'll be the first one to admit it. But what I'm not going to do with National Fire Radio is I'm not going to ruin our reputation and brand based upon what's new, hot, or exciting at this fucking moment.
Right.
I have stayed true to who I am. I have stayed true to what I want to deliver to the fire service. I love everything that you have done with us and to be a part of us, Rob, like over our relationship. I wanted to tell some stories today because you and I have had an unbelievable backstage pass to the American Fire Service for the last 8 years.
I messed it up. My bad.
Oh no, this needed to get out, right? This is what, when you and I used to do the podcast together, this is what always happened.
Right.
You knew the buttons to push to get me to get going.
I came in here with no intention to push buttons today. I'm saying that. Yeah.
It needs to be said.
Yeah.
It needs to be said. You hold me accountable. This is what I need, right? Like, I think it's really important, but I do want to say this, right? Through the last 20 minutes or 30 minutes, however long we've been talking about the downside of all this, I am a huge proponent and fan of anybody that is willing to do better for the fire service for the right reasons.
Yes.
I can also read people very quickly. So I understand pretty quickly who you are, what you're trying to get to. You know, here's an idea. If you want help, ask for help.
Yeah.
Don't fucking sell me. Don't ask me to do things for you. Come to me and say, hey, I'm new at this. I'm looking for some guidance, right? Open up a conversation. But you know how many people just come right out of the gate asking, hey, can you do this for me? And I'm like, what? Wait a minute. What are you going to do for me? Like, it's pretty wild how people don't recognize relationships and how to build them.
I think there was a conversation a long time ago I watched about like mentorship. And how to have the ask for the mentor. We need to focus on that, because that's like, you know, one, there are no secrets here. You know, and I like, just, there's nothing that we've done is with National Fire Radio is a secret. Like, you can
pretty much,
hey, you know what? I'll spill the beans. Gary V.
Oh, 100%.
Pay attention to him, and you're gonna do A-okay.
He was the one that inspired us to start this.
And I remember you getting me hooked onto his bullshit, and I was like, he's got me hook, line, and sinker still to this day. So it's not a secret, but like the idea of finding a mentor and then having that conversation with them and approaching them and being like, hey, like you said, I'm new to this. Like, what are some things that I should be looking out for? Is there things that you learned over the course of this that you would be like, hey, like, here's something where we did make a mistake and we had a misstep and we won't do that again. Like, I love telling, like, I tell people all the time about the cold call that I had with Kehoe. and not even realizing that I was making a cold call because I was so excited about what we were doing.
Yes, right.
And I had such, and you know, and I think you know, just, it was like, and now I look back and it's completely embarrassing, but I learned from it.
Sure. 100%.
And it's like, you know, just, and that's one example. I'm sure there's 50 others that I'm not even thinking of.
Bro, we don't execute perfectly every time. We fumble all the time, and we have for 8 years. I mean, there's large media projects that we have had issues with that had big money involved and everything else. And it's part of growing and it's part of being a business. I think what comes from it is how you handle it.
Yeah.
And how you come out on the other side. Something you said about mentorship, I think is incredibly important, is twofold. It's one thing to be mentored. It's one thing to be willing to be mentored.
Right. 100%. Because I was just thinking about it. Like, I wrote something about gatekeepers a while back, and like, that is like the whole idea of, like, because there's going to be people who just gatekeep the information, no matter how much you ask. They're going to trick you into thinking they're a mentor, and they're not really mentoring you. But like, just be cognizant of that, I guess. Is because, like I said, that's a very real thing at this as well. Find somebody who's open with you, but understand, like, if it's kind of like, if you think it's happening, if it walks like a duck, it sounds like a duck, it's probably a duck,
most likely.
So yeah, because it's like, you know, and the other just random thing that popped in my head with this was like, you want to do it right. You don't want to be a house of cards that gets knocked down quickly. You don't want to build yourself too fast. And I can tell you that, like, for me, I love frontline mindset. I love the interview style that I did. I love going out there and finding what the mindset of somebody was. And I truly miss doing the podcast. I didn't have the time for it.
Sure.
And if you want to get down to the brass tacks and hard facts of what it was for me in that decision, was I had a job to do as a deputy fire chief, and I had responsibilities there. The other backside of it was, what does it say about me if I'm going to put out a shitty product because like, my focus has to be over here. And it just, you know, I want to put that out there, because it's like you said, it, like, you're going too hard, too fast. Like, think about that. Think about if what is your product saying for yourself? Are you adding that value to it? Is it that 5149? And it's huge because
I
that's
I would ask an individual, the people that truly you're surrounding yourself with, do they all look the same, talk the same? And if
right.
they do, then chances are um, you're in that echo chamber where you could find yourself in a pretty bad position.
Yeah.
Right? That's short game talk, right?
Mhm.
You need to surround yourself. I have found some incredible mentors that are not in my inner circle. They're not like my friend inner circle. These are people outside of that I'm inspired by, that will take my call anytime,
Yeah.
that I can run something up the line with them, whether it's a business idea, securing funding, looking at investment opportunities, growing a business, scaling a business, right? I have mentors that I look to for family life and being a better father, right? Being a better friend, better husband, right? Like, so when you look at that, and the one thing that I'm very proud of is like my circles do not look the same.
Yeah.
They do not look the same.
Mhm.
And so that for me and that's what I understood over the long term, is that you need to set yourself up for success with people that will tell you the truth.
Yes.
You don't need yes men in your life. You need people that respect and love you for who you are and can disagree with things in your life or your process or your scaling or your attitude or your convictions. Somebody needs to hold you accountable.
Yeah.
And when you remove that from your system, you will have a short-term play, and the damage will be done to the point where you can't turn it around. And that would be my caution for people that want to get into, doing something for the fire services. You got to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons and not your reasons.
Right.
I'm very selfish when it comes to National Fire Radio, right? So I'm talking about being unselfish.
Yeah.
But I'm also very on the other side. I always say I'm a walking contradiction because I'm selfish with this too. But my selfish is my need to have this conversation today.
Yeah.
My selfishness is the enjoyment I get from putting key people together. I had a phone call before you got here this morning with a large company who is looking to work with another large company, and they come to me to make the relationship and the connection.
Right.
That to me is like the selfish need. I need to feel that.
Yeah.
Like I love putting people together and then seeing what comes from that, knowing that internally I had something to do with that. That's very selfish of me, but that's what National Fire Radio has allowed me to do. And so that's the selfish side. My selfishness will never come down to promoting myself over the fire service.
Mm-hmm.
And it could be idealistic and maybe I fall down at that on times, but I have gotten to a place where I'm very comfortable with who I am, my perspectives, points of view. And maybe it gets easier, Rob, like the more you put out, the more people know about you. Right. So like people know what they get with me today. Unless you've never heard a podcast before or saw any of the social, right? Then you don't know who I am. But I think the majority of people that have been around for a little while know my temperament, understand where I come from, knows what I'll draw the line with, right? And I think this episode's going to hit pretty hard, and I'm excited for that because sometimes you need to let it out there a little bit more, Sometimes I got to play Switzerland and I reserve my points of view, and then other times I need to let them fly.
Yeah.
Right. I think for me, it's easy for me to have this conversation with you because you have seen it from the get.
Yeah.
And you've also seen like your growth with it, but you've seen my growth in like who I've become, right? Our hair is both getting a little whiter and grayer. I'm going to say that. I mean, that's a fact.
This one accelerated approximately 2 years ago.
But can you, no doubt, well, take on the gold, right? And off you go. Gold brings white. I think that's how it works.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to talk a little bit about the fun side of this.
Yes.
I mean, the podcast has been incredible. We started with the Jeff Dill conversation. We just snowballed into that whole thing, right? But like Jeff Dill bringing mental health awareness with his organization and then talking to others and bringing value to the fire service, I think is incredibly important. And we've been able to do that with the podcast. But man, we've had some fucking fun along the way too.
Yes.
It was funny when you walked in, you said, what did you say? And I go, yeah, well, we're not drunk either. Like we're not drinking beers,
sober.
right? We're sober, right? Yeah. Like we used to do when we first started in Bob's and Ruth's garage, my in-laws' garage, right? We had 3 walls built out of plywood and 2x4s with decorations on the walls.
Big brick
fake brick, a couple of my old fire helmets, a poster you got out of Ulster, New York or whatever, right? Remember right?
Yeah.
And then we would sit there and interview people, local people at first, right? Like people I knew in the fire service that were impactful for me. You brought Terry Ehlers, was a guy up from Newburgh that came down, a chief, right, that you respected. We got a couple other like people. All of a sudden we started getting like people from further away would come.
Yep.
But we would do 2 interviews a night.
Yes.
So we would stack them. We did 7 and 9, I think, or like 6 and 8 or something.
Yeah, 6 to 8 and 8 to 10.
Whoever did the second interview got us like 6 beers in.
Yes.
So the first interview of the evening was ripping open that case of beer, right? Ripping open that case of beer. Ryan's sitting there looking at us, right? So we would open up a case of beer. We'd have to keep it outside. We didn't even have a refrigerator in a place.
Right. We get a cooler of ice.
Right.
I get pizza from down the street.
We get pizza, and we would sit there and do beers with our first guest, and that Jim Dougherty, remember, like big Jim Dougherty, right? And then we would drink a bunch of beers. That episode would end, and when that episode ended, our next guest would come, and then our next guest would mingle with the first guest.
Yep.
He'd get 1 or 2 going, typically. Now we're all having a good time, and then we're like, we got to record, and now we sit down for the second one, and we're feeling no pain at that moment.
Right. We're having fun.
We're having fun.
Yeah.
Good Lord, man. Can we go back can we do it that way again?
Sure.
Can we go back to the garage and just kind
A
of
retro episode?
Oh, it'd be amazing.
I don't think we should use the Yeti mic, but
we'll sit
there, but like
we'll sit on like buckets, like spackle buckets, and like I mean it was a lot of fun, man.
But and
we had no idea what we were doing.
We had no idea, but like because I think you talk about the fun, like I'm friends with them on social media, and every now and then I reach out to them. But like when we started this, one of the first things I remember that I had to go out to Utah because I was a firearms instructor. I had to recertify my instructor certification, and I went to Station 8 in Salt Lake City.
Yeah,
and like they had seen some of our episodes, and like invited me in, and I remember the fun part about that was catching the stories, and these guys caught like great first fires.
Yeah.
I mean, but then the captain of the house didn't want to. He was going to sit this one out, but he was listening from his office, and all of a sudden that chair, I heard the chair move, and he screamed, "Oh yeah, this!" And he came in and joined, and that's when I knew we had something good because we were exactly like you said, we were being authentic to who we were. But it was, because really the whole focus of this is taking the stories from the senior firefighters.
That's it.
And ensuring that they're not lost and we don't lose that history of the fire service. And we're doing that. And we've through all the noise, not noise, but like all the things that we have done, that is still our core mission to today.
That's why we still do the podcast.
Yeah.
This podcast is done to give value to the fire service.
Yeah.
This is not our revenue stream. Like there's advertising against this, right? And so on. But like at the end of the day, like this is done because one, it's my selfish pleasure of having a conversation with a guy that maybe I've met or never met before, or maintaining a friendship, right? But I like to try to bring value in the conversation, right? And that's what our value is with the podcast. I mean, everything else with National Fire Radio is what the revenue machine is and what we do and why we've been able to grow and do things, right? It's all that back end stuff that nobody even knows about.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're sharing the stories of the senior man was always the mission of this. And it might have varied a little bit here and there, but it's still storytelling and it's still conversation.
Yeah.
I love that.
And the storytelling that we were able to do with manufacturers alone, like that was some of the fun stuff. I don't want to like dive deep into the weeds on that, but just being able to go in and have conversations, whether it was with
let's talk
Pierce, Rosenbauer, like, all these.
Tell the story when we sat down with Rosenbauer. It was our first factory trip, like a year in, and we go into the conference room. Do you remember this?
I do. I remember that. This is yes. I have a lot of friends at Rosenbauer, so I'm like,
I do too, and I love the guys.
Was...
I just saw Todd and a bunch of the Greggy and so on. I just saw a bunch of the guys, but this is a true story.
Yeah,
this is a true story.
We went in, and I believe your first words were, we got the niceties out of the way. And
We go into the conference room and sit down with
Right.
their whole crew, right? Marketing people,
Right.
vice presidents, right? All these people.
and you're like, you have a marketing problem.
You have a brand problem.
Yeah, a brand problem. And like the record player went, "Grr," and like everybody and then you proceeded to say, like, just to give your honest feedback of what was going on with their brand and everything else. And they listened, and they not only did they listen, like because we did the factory tour there, then we went to the dealership meeting, and we did a factory tour because there's 3 separate factories, so we hit 2 out of the 3, and they immediately started changing how they were doing things.
It was really interesting to me that Rosenbauer builds 2 very different trucks back then. I'm not sure where they are today with it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But they had acquired 2 different companies within the United States, General and I forget the other one. Central States. They had 2 different companies, and one was like fully extruded bodies, and the other one was more economical.
Right.
And they're selling them both under the same name. And most large departments at the time would buy the more economical purchase. And those are the ones that you saw on the street, and those are the ones that were getting a bad rap because they were having issues with the trucks because they were the more economical truck. Then you go look at the fully extruded body on the other one that they build under the same name, and it's that thing's a tank.
Yeah.
Right?
My ladder truck is a workhorse.
Right. So you got 2 different trucks under the same name, under the same company. There's a brand problem there.
Right.
Like you have to recognize that it's 2 different products, and you got to educate the fire service as such. And the one thing that I always said, Rob, is when we started working with manufacturers is we have to be who we are.
Yeah.
We're not a polished advertising and marketing firm that's going to come in and just yes you to death and give you vanilla product.
Right.
Like I'm going to tell you what we know and what we're hearing on the streets and what we see, the finger on the pulse type thing, right? And that was a moment. I thought we were going to be put on a plane and sent home. Remember that?
I was worried it was going to be a bus. But yeah. Yeah, it was.
And we've developed incredible relationships over time with people
Right.
there, and we've stayed in touch with guys, even guys that have left the company. We've stayed in touch with them, and we've created incredible friendships over moments like that. Rosenbauer was one that stands out to me because it was early on. Those guys saw value in what we do.
Yep.
They brought us in. We helped grow their social media presence out of the gate pretty quick, which was cool. We did a ton of content from there, and they let us get away with anything. I drove an ARF truck through the city.
Right. Yeah.
They allowed me to drive an airport truck with no supervision.
Right. Yep. The ARF truck. We did the RTX as well.
That was cool.
That was an awesome experience. We did both the concept and then that FDIC. That was like I said, it was it was an interesting experience to say the least.
I drove that thing around Indy.
Yep.
Pretty wild, man. And then take it to another apparatus manufacturer. We got to the plant, and I butted heads with the market with the one guy there about safety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if we have to do this, and this in the plant, we're not going to be able to record anything. You might as well send us home. Do you remember that conversation?
Yes.
And then the guy was like, well, I'll send you home. And I was like, I guess we're going home. And then, and then we had a powwow, right? And we ended up having a great 2 days at the factory.
Yeah.
And so on. I think what's really interesting is that is, to me, I'm very proud of all these moments because we've never surrendered or sacrificed who we are.
Right. No,
I don't apologize for what we are, who we are.
Yeah. No, and we have been who we are, even sometimes to our own detriment, I guess.
100%.
Because I remember
we've lost plenty of opportunities.
Yeah, I remember working with Mercedes and being in New Hampshire and watching the video shoot just wasn't going well, and I finally jumped in and I got to talking to Kevin Pluger and we made it happen, and within 5 minutes we were crushing
back at it. Yeah,
and it was just and at Dave Quick. That's where I first met Dave Quick, the hose nerd, and he was like, I don't know if about the social media stuff, and I was like, we're gonna do it. And now look at the guy.
Yeah, he's doing well.
He's doing really well, and he's crushing it. So, there's just.
Do you remember we got snowed in South Dakota? We couldn't leave South Dakota.
Yep.
for an extra 2 days.
Yes, we got stuck in
We got stuck, not snowed in there. We got the flight. There was only one flight out every day, and the flight got canceled the first day,
Yep.
and then the second day. But Sioux Falls, South Dakota was definitely a fun place to hang out. We got so banged up the one night that I told Lewis to charter a plane. Do you remember that?
Yes, we were gonna. I think I have video of it somewhere.
We had our own in-house pilot, right? And and I told him we were banged up that night, and I go, get a plane.
Yeah.
Get a plane. Well, we'll just get a plane and we'll fly home. You can fly us home. Ridiculous.
Right. And
The shenanigans, man.
and Chris is hammered, and it's like, I need 8 hours between the.
Yeah.
You'll be fine, Chris.
That's right. I'll sign off. Get me paperwork. I'll sign it.
Yeah. Who's gonna pull us over in the air?
They're not going to pull us over. Oh my God. I mean, and it's just like the list goes on and on of the opportunities that we've had and the people we've partnered with.
Well,
and
not only that, like the all of those things are great, but like the impacts that we have that we don't talk about. The phone calls that we have gotten from trusted members of the fire service who, unbeknownst to us, we did a podcast that saved a life.
Yeah.
Like that is going back to our conversation on mental health, we don't know where this is going. Like it's not a script. And I think of just like that impact really sits with me deeply. And the chief from Hawthorne,
Joe Speranza.
When I asked,
I'm going to have him back on. I just saw him not too long ago and told him I want to have him back on.
Fantastic. I remember that episode we had said to him, I asked the question, what's something they don't teach you about in the book that you do? And he talked about being on the scene of fatal car accidents, and when you know that death rattle, and letting the person know that you're here and it helps coming, and we're here, you're not alone.
Yeah.
And I said, like, I think if you listen to the episode, it's like, Jesus Christ, I didn't think we were going to go this deep. But like that helped a responder out in the Midwest who handled an accident because he was the first one there, and that was that, and he would have otherwise not known what to do. And like he had action. Like I think of Russ Vidler and interviewing him, and we just went on a kind of it was like we were wrapping up, and it ended up into a 20-minute conversation on mental health, and having a captain from Terre Haute reach out to me and be like, hey, like you guys did it, good job, like you saved a life. And it was from that episode. So those are like the positive impacts on and that's on obviously like a very deep level there of somebody who's in crisis. But then we have the other side of it of just people being in love with the fire service again. And somebody who is happy to walk back into a firehouse is a win in my book.
The only thing I can say to all of this is like I've had a front row seat to so many of these wild success stories or incredible outcomes because of our content and what we do. And that does fuel me for sure. I think what's powerful is the power of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is what we're all supposed to be doing, right? We're just doing it on a larger level that reaches more people. But conversations like what you and I are having are shared every single day in every firehouse across the country. Yeah. And if they're not, they should be. And we started National Fire Radio to protect the stories of the senior man, right? It was to protect the job, the traditions and cultures, right? That's what we started this on. But it was started because I was watching some of that fade in the fire service. Yeah. And so like, for me, we haven't really steered away from what the true core mission of this is. And what we do here happens or should be happening in firehouses every single day. And if it's not, then something needs to change for you because you need to find a place where you can have conversations like this. And maybe if you're not getting it there, maybe that's where National Fire Radio comes in. Maybe it's filling that void for somebody that is on an island somewhere who can't find people to have a conversation with, that is looking for something a little bit more. Maybe we can offer that. And I think that's what we're supposed to be doing. But we're not doing anything more than what regular guys should be doing every day.
Yes.
I think we started this conversation quite a while ago talking about the power of conversation and a cup of coffee. When I first met you, we shared a couple beers. And then when I'd come to the firehouse, you would shake my hand, welcome me in, sit down, and have a cup of coffee.
Yep.
But the coffee was the vehicle for the conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
And if you're not getting conversation where you are today, if people are so focused on themselves and they're not willing to have conversation and the camaraderie and the brotherhood that needs to happen in our firehouses, maybe National Fire Radio offers just a little bit more to those people as an outlet to find conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and if you're not having conversation in your firehouse, call me. I'll come have a coffee with you in your firehouse. I'd love to see your firehouse and this past week, I taught Saturday up in Syracuse, and Friday night I got up there a little early and I swung by 2 different firehouses and just like said hello.
Yeah.
And I ended up having incredible conversations and storytelling and laughter with these guys. And like, that's what this is supposed to be.
Yes.
That's why I think what we do is important. And I think that's why I'm so passionate about people that are cheapening what this should be. Like, you carry an incredible responsibility when you put yourself out there to do something like this, right? Whether it's a podcast, whether it's social media content, you are putting yourself out there and taking ownership of who you are and what your messaging is. People are watching and people are listening, and you can influence people. Your message better be right. You better stay in your lane and know what you're talking about, because you could impact somebody.
Yeah.
And I just like doing it for the right reasons. Make sure it's kind of like the whole mission over me thing, right? I always say in my program, it's like, I understand there's a balance, but like at the end of the day, if you make decisions based upon the mission and you don't insert yourself into the conversation, chances are you're always going to make the right decision.
Yeah.
It's only when you insert yourself into a decision could you make the wrong decision, because now it becomes about you and not the mission, right? So if you need to make a decision based upon the mission, the firehouse, the fire company, the fire ground, remove yourself from it and make that decision. You'll probably make the right decision, right? Super important. Same thing goes with life, right? Same thing goes with doing this. Like, make the right decision. Remove yourself from what you're doing, and your content becomes more important because it's mission focused.
Yeah, as you're talking about this too, I'm thinking about our early days, and one of the things that you said was that we wanted to make sure we didn't put negativity out into the atmosphere. Essentially,
Mhm.
like there was no, like, what was the positive, of putting negative commentary or doing a negative post or putting anything. If it took value away, it was something that we didn't want to be involved with. And I think that's a huge, like, there's something to be said in that statement, and that, that should probably be chiseled into some stone somewhere. Like, if you are taking value away from something and it's a negative, think twice. There's a time and place, I think, for certain things, but like, think twice, because negativity is going to bring back about negativity.
Without a doubt, right?
We're in math, and it's in the math equation. So
in a recent episode, I talked about my conundrum I have with like the Yard Foundation and hitting it hard from the yard.
Yeah.
And like, I hate the hitting it hard from the yard social media, because it tears apart the fire service, right? Listen, the job's not perfect, so there's always going to be things that you can pick on, people you can pick on, whatever. But you have to understand too, the fire service is incredibly huge, and we paint it with a broad stroke, but there are massive metropolitan departments that are incredibly squared away, that have the most funding and the most people, and they're incredible. And then you have the most rural of departments, where it's truly neighbors helping neighbors, farmers helping farmers.
Yeah.
And we're gonna lambaste them or chastise people that are firefighters in their hometown community. It could be a hometown of 80 people, and it's 5 guys that are willing to put their lives on the line for their neighbor's house. You're gonna have a social media page that's gonna tear down people. You don't know the fucking situation. You don't know where they come from. You might disagree with what you see. Yeah, it's not perfect, right? And the environment is so drastically different across this country. So I hate pages that are here to tear down the fire service and speak bad about the fire service. Yes, the fire service isn't perfect. Yes, there are people that shouldn't do this job. Yes, there are communities that aren't well protected. Yes, there are failing fire companies. And we can go down the fucking road of all the issues in the fire service. But to highlight that and put that in public and to have a laugh and so on and make it an issue, I have a hard time with that. But on the other side, I want to support the Yard Foundation times 1,000.
Yes.
Because they raise so much money for people and they do such good for the fire service. It's almost like we can be bad because we do all this good. And I've talked to these guys, like I've had plenty of conversations. I talked about this on a podcast recently and said, this is my conundrum with all of it is like, I want to support the Yard Foundation and do anything and everything I could do for them, but I can't get behind it if they're going to tear down the fire service in another conversation. And so for me, it becomes a struggle. And I talked about this recently on a podcast, and I had a lot of people reach out to me about that comment and said they felt the same way, and they appreciated the fact that I was willing to talk about that because they feel the same way.
Yeah. It's so like I remember giving one of the guys some heat on, he had a hefty radio strap that he bought. And I remember at the time I was like, and I just kind of went off the handle. It wasn't the best moment for me. But then in retrospect, knowing that money that he bought with that went to the Yard Foundation. And then recently, we had we had a tragic positive event in Dutchess County where one of the fire chiefs was at a fire. He went into cardiac arrest. They worked him to the hospital. He was pronounced dead. And then this rare syndrome happened where they went to get the body after telling the family, and he was breathing.
No
and had a
way.
pulse. Yep.
What?
Yes. The Yard Foundation stepped up for that family. So, like, in my own backyard,
Yep.
here they are doing the right thing. And it's a very, I share the sentiment with you. Like, it's a very difficult, like we talked about the balance before and how it rolls off balance, right?
Yeah, you're right.
We're off balance with that. But it's when I watch, I think the guy's name's Clem, right?
Yeah.
When I watch him cut a check,
I know.
It really, like, and I've wanted just to, I figured at some point our paths would cross, and I've always wanted to talk to him just to have the conversation, because I imagine it's extremely difficult.
Yeah, and yes, and so this is just my point of view, right? And I don't say that you're right, wrong, or indifferent. I just, for me, I have a hard time with it, right? I've tried to do better in life without being able to talk out of both sides of my mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can't be positive and talk good things over here and then talk bad about it over here. It is a struggle for me to understand that. And I know people struggle with that because I had a lot of people reach out about that when I talked about it originally. And here I am talking about it again. But like, what the Yard Foundation does is incredible. They raise an unbelievable amount of money. They give it right to the firefighters or their families. They do the right thing. And I fucking love that and then want to get behind that. But on the other side of things, it like crushes me that you have a guy that is volunteering in his town in rural Kentucky, and he made a mistake that was captured on camera, and we're just going to trash him. Right. Talk down about the fire service, right? Make fun of him, right? With no ability to have a real conversation with it. Like, you're literally taking a half a second in time and crushing somebody over it. And I have a very hard time with that.
And at the end of the day, words matter.
Words do matter.
We could talk about sticks and stones may break your bones, but words never hurt me. It's one thing to make a statement. It's another thing to dock somebody where their life is miserable. And that's like, I printed a picture out and it's in my office of that comment because there's a reminder there. But that's where it ended, and that's I think like that's where that's my internal struggle. So.
Yeah, and then you take it a little bit further. People that get put on blast, you want to support mental health. Like, what are you doing for these individuals that you put on blast? Right. So now it's another contradiction in the system here. Right. And that for me is like a real internal struggle, because I know what it's like to be on the back end. And as much as I say you don't hear the booing or the cheering, you hear it both. You just have to be able to filter it and temper it. Right. And so for me, like, yeah, there's been plenty of times where, the hate came through and you feel it. Nobody's invincible.
Yeah.
Most famous person in the world, other than probably Donald Trump, I think he could just like turn it off. I don't think it bothers him. But I'm just saying, in general, as a human being, like any hate or down talk certainly has an effect on you. Mm-hmm. And so, for me, I look at that and it's a contradiction. And I know the world's full of contradiction. I'm a walking contradiction at times, right? So like I get that.
Yeah.
I just that's my only take on that is just I struggle with that, and I know others do as well. Um, I don't know, man. NFR has been a fun run. We have been involved with a lot of great things. I always think back to the event we threw in Framingham with Jason Menard
Yes.
and raising money for him, and Rusty Ricker and that crew from up north that really swooped in to create an unbelievable fundraiser within just a few days. And I think we donated over $17,000 to the family after that event, which was just an incredible night.
The interesting part about that to me was all the, like, we knew what was coming when it came to the people that were going to show up for the event.
Yeah.
When we were talking to they were expecting a crowd of like 30, 40 firefighters. And I just remember the eyes on that lady from, I'm trying to remember the brewery.
Yeah, I forget the name of that brewery.
It's, but like you being like, no, we're going to pack this event space. You're going to need more people to pour beer.
Yeah.
And her being like, no, I think, and I was like, we have this many signed up already, and there's others that are coming. And, and it was just, that realization and watching her panic.
The On Tap series we did was a lot of fun, right? That's what that was. We were just doing an On Tap, which is a bar takeover with one or two speakers. We were going to do a roundtable with a couple guys. And then it turned into a massive fundraiser for Jason Menard, who was killed in the line of duty in Worcester, Mass. Yeah. And it was our event was scheduled like 3 days, I think, after I don't even think it was after the funeral. I think the funeral was that day or like the day.
No, it was after the funeral.
You sure?
I'm pretty sure it was after the funeral. And Jack Sabby was the
Jack Sabby
was the brewer.
That's right.
So
we should go back and throw another event. I've been thinking about doing the On Tap series again.
Yeah, the On Tap series in Buffalo was interesting. Thank you, Bobby. Bobby Eckert was our speaker. It was fantastic. He was on fire as usual.
The Labatt's Brewery. Do you remember we were at the Labatt's? Yeah.
And the best part was me going outside and a family coming out and the father looking traumatized because Bobby was teaching how Bobby teaches, and there should be no other way that he teaches.
That's hilarious.
And him being like, man, that guy is very passionate about what he's talking about. And I said, yeah. I said, like, well, it's like we gotta get. If your
awesome.
Kids are in, he's like, no, that's the guy that I want coming to save my kids. But man, and I said, hey, how about and Dave Mangus from Empire bought all the Rosenbauer trucks there. I said, how about we sit them? You want the kids to come up in the fire truck? And that guy forgot everything that Bobby said, and them kids got. Oh, we can go in the fire truck.
I forgot about that one. That was fun. Buffalo was fun.
Yeah, Sean, again, thank you for the groundwork that you helped us.
Yeah. We did. Our first one was right here in Pearl River, New York. Yep. Defiant.
Yeah,
Defiant Brewery, and we had a terrible thunderstorm that night, and a lot of people didn't come. We only had like maybe 100 people there show up. That was our first one.
Yeah,
first one. I remember we invited the FDNY bagpipers to play, and they came in. I paid them, and I also told them they had an open bar tab. And I remember Terry looking at me at the end of the night going, do you know how much your bar tab is? And our bar tab exceeded what we brought in that night, so I paid out of pocket. It was our first On Tap, and she's like, you're not doing this again. We made no money doing this event. And I was like, no, we're going to keep doing it.
I remember like, what are you doing putting a wristband on their wrists? These guys are professionals.
That's right.
And they were, I was just like,
oh, it was crazy, man. It was so much fun. Like, the more and more I sit back and think about it, you and I were talking about this, and you said, you're like, man, I wish we kept like a logbook of all of our stories, all of the experiences. We've traveled all over this country. Yeah. We have made relationships with people all over this country, and we've had some incredible times.
I wish you could have come with me to Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah, I missed that one.
The revolutionary fire tactics at the lake with David Woodward was fantastic. And Joe, our friend Joe Tompkins, one of my firefighters, came with me, helped me shoot content, and he had a mini trade show, so there was fire trucks there, and I remember us doing there's two things that were funny about that: doing content on the fire trucks with an open bar, because at the end of the night we almost fell off the top of the fire truck, so we were a little tipsy, and then meeting Brian Franz, who is the owner of Sentinel Fire Apparatus in
Right.
St. Louis, and I did that. Thankfully, that was early on in the evening before all the beers, but we did a bunch of stuff with him, and then the next year went back and did some more stuff, and then it was after that, and I'm talking to Greg, and I was like, "They got the salesman in St. Louis. That's fantastic." And he's like, "Oh, what's his name?" I was like, "Brian Franz." I said, "Like they got like I've done content with him, Greg, and this is Greg's the national aerial manager for Rosenbauer. I'm like they got to do something with him." And he looks at me and goes, "Rob, that's the owner of the dealership." And I was like,
Huh.
"Well,
That's good to know.
that's good to know. I'm happy that Brian, I said that's why he's so good at it." Like,
Right.
because I had no clue, and I called him after that. I said, "You didn't tell me you were the owner of the dealership." He's
Yeah.
like, "Well, I didn't think it was important."
Doesn't matter.
And that, it was like this, and then the next time going out, seeing his shop and operation and everything, it was fantastic. But there were some wild stories that happened that we can't repeat on air.
Of course.
But it was a good conference, and just that was another crazy one that we traveled to and made an impact on.
It's been a lot of fun.
Led to me meeting Craig Haig, and who wrote the Dynamic Fire Chief. And
Yeah.
he was, I said the other day, there's no book on becoming a fire chief, but there is a good. Nobody hands you a book; you have to go out and buy it. It's called the Dynamic Fire Chief, because that was and no disrespect to the book, it's not the sexiest fire engineering book out there, and not that I want to plug books for people, but like his went into all the stuff that they don't teach you about being a fire chief, and it was like I think I would have gone insane if I didn't have, and plus if you buy the book from the guy and you meet him, he is salt to the earth person to call up and be like, "Hey, I've got this problem," and to talk you through a thing. Like I said, we talked about our circles.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic guy there. But it was definitely out of the revolutionary fire tactics, and hopefully the conference comes back, because I think the fire service is missing it.
I am so grateful for the opportunities that NFR has provided us.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like I'm appreciative for the opportunities, but we made these opportunities happen.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Put in the work.
We put in the work. I think that, if anything, is something that I am starting to appreciate more of. Yeah. I never want this to not be a passion of mine. I don't want it to become a job. You know what I'm saying? But it is, right? It's a full-time job times 10, right? It consumes me. But I still have this, 20 minutes before you got here, I was like, shit. I was like, we gotta record. I gotta get studio. It's going to take me 2 hours out of the game because we're going to be recording. And then as soon as you walk in the door, it's like, let's go, man. Like, I need this, And so it's like, it's that. I never want to lose that. I always want to be able to enjoy what we do. And I say we because you are very much a part of this thing, man. You have been here from day one. It's just been a hell of a lot of fun. And my first Facebook message to you was, "Hey man, I got an idea." And you were like, "Sure." And from there, it's been a wild ride, my friend.
Yes, it has. As it's just going to remind me, because I'm wondering if I can actually find that, because we didn't talk much on Facebook.
No,
it was.
I don't know if it's still there. That's 8 years ago. You're looking at direct message. You're looking at IMs from.
Yeah, well, it's a bunch of messages of content. That's because I remember at one point it was the easiest way for us to share photos of each or that we did.
Yeah.
So yeah, this looks like
every once in a while I get a memory pop up, in my phone. The iPhone shows you photos from years ago, or Facebook sends you your memories. And like some of these pictures, man, bring me back to, I just saw the other day the picture from Pierce where we all went. We were at the factory, and then they allowed us to go in the new Humvee. What was the name of that one that they built that we went on the track out back of Oshkosh?
Oh, MRAPs.
MRAPs.
Yeah.
There was the like prototype, like they weren't even in production, or they were in production, but not even. We had to sign a release. We had to put our phones in a box, remember?
Yep.
And then they took us out, and they took us for a ride in this thing.
Yeah.
And then they took our photo with it at the end, and like that photo just popped up as a memory the other day, and I was like, Chris Lewis is in it.
And the funniest part about it was that we couldn't take photos.
Tucker.
We couldn't. Yeah, Tucker's with us. We couldn't. Crazy bastard. We couldn't take photos of anything. And we couldn't take photos of the truck. They did a group photo, but we couldn't post it.
Right.
But then we were at lunch, and one of these vehicles is on a public street driving down the road.
Yeah.
And I remember you messed with the marketing guy and said, "Hey, it's in public, so if we take a picture of it now, what happens?"
Yeah, right. Exactly.
And like, it's just like, you know what I mean? It was just
that was fun. We've
wild.
had some wild times.
Or the secrets. I remember that too. Part of the trip. The secret machinery that we have phones in the lock boxes. And everything else,
proprietary machinery.
You're like, hey, these are my parts. Like, and your ball bearing comes out.
Yeah,
and the guy's like, how do you know this? And you're like, I told you, this is what I do.
Like come on. Yeah, bro, I'm grateful. I'm incredibly grateful for the times we've had.
Yeah,
and the friendships that have been built over the years, man. Especially our friendship. Yeah. And it's like anything, right? There's always the highs and lows and the peaks and valleys, but you and I have always remained true to one another. And I'll always be grateful for your friendship. And it came
likewise.
It came through for the love of the fire service is really where it comes from, And I think that's like so powerful. I want people to recognize like how lucky we have it to have the fire service in our lives that has allowed for so much good to take place.
I'm forever grateful that I got involved in the American Fire Service.
Right.
And not only am I grateful for it, I'm grateful for the opportunities, but like to be able to put my arms out and grab guys and bring them on trips, taking it to the streets or something like that. And having that opportunity has been, and then getting into like, I don't want to say a position of power and authority, right? But when I became deputy chief, being able to be like, you're going to FDIC.
Right.
Like, and Chief Gilneck got behind that before us and forcing people, I don't say forcing, it's not like I got a gun to anybody's head, but getting people to go to like a conference like Joey D, in the training days, because where they're going to get some of the best live fire training that the state has to offer. It's just, these are the wild things that have gotten to happen, and we've got to do it through this lens, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think that like that is what should fuel everyone, is like understanding how lucky we are. And I think so many people get caught up in the bad messaging.
Yep.
It's that manufactured perspective, right? Not forcing it, not being organic with the process. And I think when you allow it to be organic and it's not manufactured, you allow yourself to understand that it's not perfect and there's going to be the highs and lows of it. But at the end of the day, we are better because of it. I'd like to think that. And if you don't feel that way, I'm sorry. Maybe it just wasn't the right time or place for you.
Yep.
But man, I'll tell you, I'm grateful for it. Even on my darkest days with it, I'm still grateful because it's given me the friendships and the relationships and the personal skill and all the other things that it's done for me. Come on, man.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
Love it.
This is a pinball episode. We went around everything. I think this has been fantastic.
I think we needed this.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to do. I don't want to talk about you. I want to talk about us.
I don't want to talk about me either. So
no, but I'm just saying, like, I was hoping this episode would take on this tone.
Yeah.
You and I have been doing this a long time, and in this influencer podcast space of social media and the fire service, we've been around, probably one of the longer ones that are still plugging away, right?
Yeah.
And so, we've learned a thing or two along the way. So maybe some people will see this as a little bit of insight as to what it looks like and so on. But I can tell you, man, like, we were a little negative there for a bit, but this thing is good. Like, I love it. Yeah. I get to talk to fire service every day. I get to talk to friends. I get to make new friends. I get to see new things. And then I get to share it with the world. Come on, man. Doesn't get any better than that.
No.
I appreciate you.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. This is interesting.
Okay. So you look right into that camera right there. You're going to be the last one signing off this episode, Rob. Do it.
This is Rob, National Fire Radio. Thank you for joining us.
He's so good. He's so good. Guys, thanks for tuning in. Robert, you're the best, man. I appreciate you and love you very much. We'll see you at the next one. Jeremy, National Fire Radio.
National Fire Radio.